Do you think this is all just a coincidence? Well, then jump forward into the future another 70 years, and you will find yourself standing on Wall Street outside the New York Stock Exchange. But instead of the normal hustle and bustle that fills the city streets, panic is in the air. The year now is 1929. The Great Depression has begun, and over the next 3 years, the Dow will lose 89% of its value. And just a few more years from now, a young man from Hungary named Adolf will use this period of equally great change in Germany to rise to power. This phenomenon happens like clockwork, and if you still don't believe me, I dare you to jump another 80 years into the future one final time. You've guessed correctly. You've arrived in 2008. The Dow Jones has just crashed 777 points, the largest single-day drop in history, setting off a global financial crisis that continues to this day. America has once again entered its fourth turning. These periods only come about once in a lifetime, and when they do, massive power vacuums are created by the political change that always comes with a national crisis. Everywhere you look, you can see these vacuums being created today as governments around the world are being turned over at incredible speeds. In the last 36 months alone, we've seen the fall of governments in Iceland, Tunisia, Egypt, Kosovo, Greece, Libya, and recently Italy, to name just a few. This year, riots and protests in the streets of America began, and by 2015, the U.S., caught in the fate of its fourth turning, will be the climactic source of a global revolution. So how will this turning end? Well, there are only two ways that they ever do. These power vacuums are eventually filled by leaders who bring in a new age of tyranny, as in the case of Hitler in Germany, Stalin in Russia, or Mao in China. Or they're filled with leaders who usher in a new age of freedom and prosperity, as seen in America during the Revolutionary War, Civil War, and the great economic boom after World War II. The choice, and our fate, is ultimately up to us. Protecting and empowering as many people as possible during this time of change has been the mission of the Elevation Group over the past year. And while we've already helped and will continue to help tens of thousands of families do just that, we've come to realize that this unique point in history has blessed us with the opportunity to do something much greater, to do something that can literally change the world. And many people talk about change these days. They talk about how Wall Street is stealing their money, how politicians in Washington are stealing their rights, and how the greed of corporations is stealing the very health of their children. Some people talk about solutions, that we need to end the Federal Reserve, that we need to end corporate campaign contributions, and that we need to bring an end to the use of untested, genetically modified foods. But no matter how great or well-intentioned these ideas may be, they will never work, because these problems are only symptoms of the root cause. Sure, you can end the Fed or send a few people to jail, but because the system itself and all of the people within it are corrupt from the very core, they will simply be replaced with someone else who is just as corrupt. That's why nothing changes, no matter which political party is elected. They're not going to have a sudden shift in their moral fiber, because their very way of life is dependent upon corruption and fraud. They're not going to stop putting hazardous chemicals in your soda like aspartame, or hormones and drugs into your meats. They're not going to stop passing laws to spy on you and take away your freedom. They're not going to hold the banks accountable, because the banks provide the money they need to get elected. The system is corrupt. The innate difference between right and wrong fails to exist. Today it is simply a matter of what is right or wrong for the person making the decision. So when all is said and done, there is only one way to actually and truly change an entire system like the one we have today at every level. You have to start from the beginning with a new generation. Your children and mine.